Hello and welcome to World Insight special program Way Into Sessions. I'm Tian Wei. China aims to expand its economy by over 6% in 2021, building on strong tailwinds from successfully containing COVID-19. On the sidelines of China's annual political season, Yifu Lin, CPPCC Standing Committee member, shares his views about the GDP target and how will China be able to reduce its budget deficit. Professor Lin's 6% GDP target. People didn't expect that China would set the GDP target, but China did this time, and 6%. Interesting, many say.
I think the target is 6% or more. And because China is recovering from the hit of COVID-19, and I think that China has the potential to grow at 6 or even more for 2021.
However, Professor Lin, many suspect whether there will be huge pressure on the Chinese economy because of the ever-increasing complicated geopolitics and also the further impact of the pandemic elsewhere in the world.
Certainly, every country during their economic development, they are going to meet this challenge or that challenges. However, overall, the global economy is recovering, and it's expected not only in China, but also in Europe and in the US. So although there's some uncertainty there, but the chance for the global recovery is high. And not only so, China is a large economy. Domestic circulation is the main body of China's economy. And so, with the control of the COVID-19 pandemic, I think China will rebound domestically as well. And as long as we can maintain healthy growth domestically, I think China will do much better than 2020.
One of the things people are looking at China is the budget deficit. Now the number is about 3.5 to 3.6%. Now, according to the plan for 2021, decreased to about 3.2%. These are numbers that economists are extremely interested in. Could you help us to help our audience to understand what is the significance of this 0.4%? Where would that come from?
Certainly now we try to reduce a little bit of the government debt because in 2020, to offset the shock from the pandemic, the government need to support the household, and the government also need to support the private sectors, and so China increased the government debt. But with the recovering, we certainly should reduce the stimulus. However, we need to maintain the continuity of the macro policies because some project that was carried out in 2020s, we need to complete that, and we cannot, cut all the support to that. And so I think that the 3.2% government debt is a realistic measurement, considering the need to reduce the debt, but at the same time to maintain macro policy continuity.
Many worry at local level, for example, local governments level, whether the debt has been really building up to a certain extent.
Regarding the local government debt, certainly we need to pay attention to that. But if you consider the debt level in China with, the comparison to other countries, the debt level in China is not that high. Not only so, most of the government debt in the local level were used for investment in infrastructure, in supporting the better environment and so on. those kind of investments, they actually build up some asset. And those assets are valuable and can generate the revenues. So if you consider those asset size of the government debt, the net debt is actually much lower than the gross figure indicate. But by saying so, I do not mean we should, not pay attention to the sustainability of that. But so far, I think the situation in China is sustainable.
What do you mean by sustainable?
Because the growth in China will continue. Once you have the growth, then the government revenue will be increased. At the same time, the GDP will also be increased. And both will contribute to the decline of the debt level. And that make the debt in China much more sustainable comparing to other countries if they use the debt to support consumption and so on.
Well, Professor Lin, that certainly makes sense, but many wonder whether the money is really used to do what you consider as really important infrastructure building, because as PBOC official Guo Shuqing earlier talked about the bubble in the housing market, there seems to be still a lot of money putting into the real estate sector, which is likely to bring more vulnerability to the Chinese economy. So, Professor Lin, what is the real picture here?
I think those kind of housing and so on, that's a private debt. And we are just, we discussed the public debt. And certainly the private debt, we also need to pay attention to. The housing prices in China are quite high. Not only it may embody certain bubble there, and if bubble burst, certainly it will be a shock to the households as well as to the financial sectors. So we need to pay attention to that. But we should not mix with the private sector's debt with the public sector debts. And for the private sector debt, the high housing prices, not only it can be a bubble, but it also will become a burden on the household, especially for the younger generation. When they graduate from the university, they started to work, and because it's a Chinese custom, everyone wants to have a house, and when they face such a high housing prices, then they feel hard to overcome, and they feel frustrated. So there's a need for China to pay attention to the rise of housing prices, and to gradually reduce it. And then with the rise of the income, with the rise of the economy, gradually there will be more affordable and more sustainable.
Professor Lin, there's a lot of talk about the green economy for the China's 14th five-year plan. You were also participating in the process of drawing up the plan. How is that green economy likely to transform the current economic structure China has?
I think that's a very important commitment from the Chinese government. And as you know, the presidency proposes the new development ideas. And in these development ideas, green growth is one of the key elements. And that means we need to rely on green technology, green energies, and we need to have a green transformation in order to reduce the CO2 emission. And so we can have this carbon neutrality in 2060, and we will hit the height of carbon emission in 2030s. And those kind of transformation is a commitment from China to the Chinese people and also to the world. And certainly that means we need to work hard in terms of the green innovation, make the technology available to the Chinese people, to the Chinese firm. And as you know, that we develop a lot in the renewable energy, solar energy, wind energy. At the same time, we propose to reduce emission in the factories and we also, use the gas to replace coal as the source of, household energy consumption and so on. I think that all those adds up will make the Chinese growth with a much higher quality, especially in terms of green and sustainability.
Professor Lin, there's a lot of new developments such as green bond and also carbon trading. When we think about that transformation, how is it going to take place and how is it going to proceed as we speak?
Once we know this is what we desire, then both the government and the whole communities will work together to achieve the target. And in terms of the green, we know that we need to use the new technology. And it's an opportunity for China also, because once we determine to develop green growth, then the green industry, green technology become a new pulse of growth in China. And their growth will provide the technology, provide the new format for the household as well as the older economy to have a better technology to replace the older technology. And so by that, we do see it's a challenges, but also an opportunity.
What do you consider as the biggest challenges for Chinese economy this year and in the very near future years, and the largest dividend or dividends that China could still enjoy?
Well, I think each year has its new challenges. And for this year, certainly, we need to have a smooth transition from the pandemic mode to the normal mode. Just we talk about the cutting down of the debt level of the government. And certainly, we need to do some adjustment of that. And secondly, because the income in China continue to grow, and certainly we need to find new poles of growth, new drivers of the growth. And we need to rely on innovations for the growth. And as you know, innovation always means risk, and we need to enhance our capability to, face the possible risk. And at the same time, certainly we need to, work with other countries to continue to promote globalization, to continue to promote the cooperation in the world. And we also need to help other countries to face the challenges of the pandemic. Hope they can also control the pandemic. And for example, to make the vaccines available not only to the Chinese people, but to all the people needed.
Professor Lin Yifu, Standing Committee member of the CPPCC, as always, thank you so much, Professor Lin.